If you're watching this video, you're probably one of thousands, if not tens of thousands of business owners who are completely frustrated because your ad costs keep going up and your cost per lead is through the roof. And everybody that you talk to is giving you the same BS solutions, such as you need better copy, or your targeting is off, or hey, have you tried this new platform, or your funnel needs tweaking, or have you heard of this one before? Maybe you need to introduce some shorts into your content. But what if I told you that chasing more leads is actually making your customer acquisition costs worse? And what if the math I'm about to show you will prove that you already have enough leads coming in right now to potentially double your conversions, but you're literally throwing everything away because you're ignoring the leads that you already paid for? So in this video today, I'm going to show you the one fix you can potentially use to reduce your customer acquisition cost without spending another dollar on ads and without changing your copy. And also, in addition to that, without tweaking your funnel for the 100th time. And I'm going to prove to you with real tangible math that this is possible. Now, here's the problem that everybody seems to be ignoring. And here's pretty much what's happening with 99% of businesses right now. And you're probably doing this too without even realizing it. Let me use a practical example, and please note that all the numbers here is going to be an example for example purposes only, because listen, you have a different offer. I do not know your offer. I do not know your price tag. Therefore, the numbers here is for example purposes only and will not necessarily relate into your businesses. But in this example, we're going to use the client name, let's just say Fred as an example, and let's just break this down. So on any given month, let's just say for an example, Fred spends about $10,000 this month on ads. So let's just put down here 10K. Okay, and out of those 10K, Fred, whose name I'm going to put up here so I don't forget, and yes, my handwriting is atrocious, I know that. Let's just make that better. So with this $10,000 of ad spend, Fred actually got 200 leads. And again, Fred is a made up example here to get the point across. Now, Fred's cost per lead here is going to be $50 per cost per lead, based on the $10,000 spent and 200 leads coming in. That's a $50 per lead. So, and this is just another example here. Out of these 200 leads, let's just say 20% of them convert into calls. So that is 40 booked calls on Fred's calendar. Now, again, let's just assume that the close rate here is going to be 20%, right? So that means out of those 40 calls, Fred is actually going to close 8 deals, right? So again, that is a 20% close rate, and this is pretty much a practical example here. Now, let's just say again, out of that $10,000 in ad spend, you got 8 customers, right? So your customer acquisition cost over here in this example is $1,250, or Fred's customer acquisition cost is $1,250, right? Now, here's my question to you, right? And trust me, I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago, and I've talked to so many business owners as well who don't really concentrate on this because nobody's teaching these things or nobody's making it visible to everybody to basically understand the importance of increasing the efficiency of your funnel. My question to you is, we had 200 leads come in, right? 40 of them booked a call. What happened to the remaining 160 leads that did not book a call, right? Most founders just shrugged their shoulders and said, well, they weren't interested in the first place, right? Otherwise they would have booked a call. No, that is so completely wrong. But and here's the thing, you paid for those leads, right? That remaining 160 leads is worth $8,000 worth of leads that you're just letting slip through the cracks. And the worst part is that there's a portion of those leads that do want to purchase whatever you're offering. However, they might not have been ready to buy the moment they clicked on the ad, right? You have to understand that there's only a minute amount, and I can't sit here and give you the exact data because I don't even know if the data is out there, but there is a minute amount of people that see your ad that is actually ready to click on your ad and buy on that moment. There's also another minute or bigger section of those people who are interested in your offer or service, but maybe they clicked on your ad, they watched everything, and they weren't ready to buy then and there, right? Again, that portion of leads, that doesn't mean that they aren't going to buy in the future or in a few weeks or in a few months, right? And this is exactly why your ad costs feel like they're killing you. You're not getting more expensive leads, you're just wasting the ones you already have, right? Hey guys, real quick, if you're in the market right now and you're looking for appointment setters or closers, this is exactly what we do here at Sales Match. We'll go out, interview them, recruit them, vet them, talk to the ex-bosses, do mock call handling, we'll look at ex-calls that they've had, and then we'll present you with the cream of the crop candidates to choose from, where you can either interview 3 of them or simply go ahead and hire them. But if you're looking for world-class appointment setters or closers, and you're looking for the best closers or setters that matches your exact offer, this is exactly what we do. So if you're interested in that, click the link below. But again, let's just get back to the video right now. Bye-bye. So again, let's go through a math example and let me show you what happens when you fix your sales process instead of chasing more leads. So again, the current scenario is as follows. Fred is spending $10,000 on ads. He's gotten 200 leads. His cost per lead is $50. His booking rate is at 20%, which means he got 40 calls. And his close rate over here is at 20%, which means out of that $10,000 in ad spend, he got 8 deals and his customer acquisition cost is $1,250. Now, what most people do in this scenario is like, oh wow, the numbers look great. We need cheaper leads. So what most founders will go out and do is they're gonna go out and spend another $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on leads to try and optimize their ads, hire new copywriters, test new platforms, and so on and so forth, instead of fixing the sales process, which over here is leaking leads. Now, again, what smart businesses are going to do in this scenario is they're gonna look at the 160 leads that are unconverted and ask, well, how do we convert more of these leads we have already paid for and are already getting? Now, watch this math here and let's see what's possible in Fred's business if he introduced things such as appointment setters, right? And again, to reiterate, appointment setters are going to go in here and their main job is going to contact each one of those 200 leads, right? They're going to build rapport, they're going to qualify them, and they're going to make sure that the actual closers are talking to the most important people. And what's going to happen is that the closers, right, their morale is going to be lifted up because they're not going to be talking to tire kickers anymore. And as a result of that, their close rate, what I've seen in my business is that the close rate is actually going to get jacked up once you bring appointment setters in here, because what they're going to be doing is removing the people from the closers' calendars that are not qualified. So naturally, right, if you remove people from a calendar that weren't qualified, that weren't going to close, and you basically stack a closer's calendar with more qualified people that are more likely to close, the likelihood of the closer's close rate going up is very good. Now, again, let's look at this scenario. Let's just say same ad spend over here, right? So same ad spend at 10K, right? Let's keep everything equal here. Out of that 10K, again, let's just say no tweaking is done with the funnel, no nothing, right? So 200 leads are coming in, the same amount of leads, same ad spend, same leads, same cost per lead, right? $50. Okay. Now here's the difference, right? Let's just say, for an example, this we basically implemented an appointment setter over here, right? And the appointment setter is going to contact these 200 leads, right, that are unconverted, or excuse me, the 160 leads that are unconverted, right? Because again, if your show up rate is over 70%, do not have your appointment setters contact the leads that are coming through the funnel automatically and booking calls, right? Because if that show up rate is over 70%, great, leave it. Do not touch what is working. However, if your show up rate is under 70%, what I would recommend and what we do specifically is that our appointment setters contacts every single lead that comes in, right? Okay, so in this example here, where the possibility is in Fred's business here, let's just say specifically Fred introduced an appointment setter here, and Fred's show up rate is, let's just assume 70%. So the appointment setter is going to contact those 160 leads that did not go ahead and book a call. And again, these numbers are going to be different in your business. I'm going to use a very, very conservative number based on our numbers here. This is extremely conservative. Let's just say specifically that this lead or this appointment setter is going to convert 10% of the people that he or she contacts. So if he made 160 dials, 10% of that will be an additional 16 booked calls, right? So with this new example, we already had 40 booked calls coming through the actual automated funnel, and our setter grabbed an additional 16 calls. So the new calls over here is 56 new calls, right? And this is specifically purely based on the fact that the setter went in and contacted those unconverted leads and got a small portion of those to book new leads, okay? Now, again, close rate is gonna remain the same here at 20%. If all else remains the same, let's just keep that equal. However, the new number of customers is gonna be 11.2 customers instead of 8 customers in Fred's example, right? And now we can see Fred's customer acquisition cost drop from 1,250 all the way down to, I got my calculator here, I believe it's 892. So 892 is Fred's new customer acquisition cost just by implementing an appointment setter into the funnel. Okay, and these are very conservative numbers based on the numbers that we have seen in our business. Again, your numbers are going to be different. I do not know your offer, I do not know your price point, but again, you can see here with possibility and with logic that if there's a pool of unconverted leads, there's a percentage of those people who do want to be on your funnel. Something happened that they left your funnel. Maybe life came up. Maybe now wasn't the right time, right? And that is exactly what your appointment setter is going to figure out and uncover, right? So again, in this example with Fred just reduced his customer acquisition cost by about $358 per customer, which is around a 31% decrease in his customer acquisition cost. Just by converting more of the leads Fred already had instead of going out and chasing new leads. Again, we make absolutely no earnings claims here, since I cannot sit here and guess what your numbers are, guess what your offer is. So your numbers will be different than this. But again, in this example, you can see here what's possible with a practical example if we introduce appointment setters. Now, again, this actually gets a lot better. And to elaborate on this again, there is a compounding effect that goes on here. Okay, and here's where most people stop thinking, but this is where the real magic happens. The appointment setter didn't just help us convert 16 more leads this month. They also created a systematic process for converting unconverted leads every single month moving forward. Meanwhile, the business owner next to Fred is still spending $15,000 per month chasing cheaper leads, and their customer acquisition cost is still at $1,250. Now, remember, as you target broader and broader audiences, your ad costs are going to rise. They aren't going to decrease. Why? Because again, you're going to colder and colder and colder audiences, which means you need to spend more to reach those audiences. And here's the kicker. After about 6 months to a year, you're still spending the same $10,000 in Fred's example on ads, but your customer acquisition cost has actually dropped, while Fred's competitor is still spending the same money per month on ads, and his customer acquisition cost keeps rising. Again, this is the power of fixing what's broken instead of chasing shiny objects or having shiny object syndrome, right? Now, you're probably sitting there and thinking, well, why doesn't everybody do this? And what is it that people get wrong, right? And maybe why are business owners obsessed with getting more leads instead of converting the ones they already have? Well, again, a lot of people do not even realize that this is going on in their business, right? And the first reason that I have seen is, I've already mentioned this, is shiny object syndrome, right? It's sexier to think about a new ad platform or revolutionary funnel hack than it is to do boring work and following up with the leads you already have properly, right? It goes back to fundamentals. People, you need to ace the fundamentals, right? Work every lead that you're getting to the bone instead of just saying, oh, let's play the volume game, because that is going to catch up to you eventually when you reach your TAM or total accessible market, right? And you might be sitting there and saying to yourself, well, the TAM is so huge, which is true. However, remember that we talked about rising ad costs. That is only going to get worse as time passes, okay? Now, again, the reason number 2 why most people don't actually use this is because they don't see the waste. Most business owners cannot tell you exactly how much they spend a month on ads, or how many leads they're getting, or how many of those leads they're converting. There's no visibility on their numbers, right? So if they have no visibility on their numbers, right, they cannot create these follow-up sequences and processes because their current sales cycle sucks and they have no visibility on that. That's also another reason I've seen that is people just do not have visibility on this, or they just simply don't care and they want to play the volume game and they don't want to do the boring work. And finally, reason number 3 I see most business founders or owners do not implement this is because they think more volume solves everything, like we just talked about, right? And I see this all often. If we just get more leads, more people will buy, right? Which is true. However, your customer acquisition cost is going to keep rising, right? Like we talked about. And again, if your conversion process is broken, 2,000 leads will convert just as poorly as 200 leads. So again, fix what is broken before you actually go out and scale. And finally, the 4th reason I see business owners don't do this is because they don't understand the compound growth. Every unconverted lead compounds your customer acquisition cost and decreases it, right? It's not about, just this month's waste. It's about systematic bleeding that happens every single month, right? Now, again, this is exactly where the human element can come in to solve this, right? So probably sitting there and saying, okay, well, Craig, I get the problem, I get it. What is the actual fix to this, right? And there's a couple of fixes that we can actually, go through here, and we're going to get into that here shortly. And let me just jump into this right now. Step one is going to be you have to audit your current lead flow and track every single lead for 30 days. And I mean every single lead that comes in. Ask yourself, where did they come from, right? Did they book a call immediately or did they bounce off the funnel, right? If not, what happened to them? Install software such as Hotjar and have a look what people are actually doing on your funnel, right? Are they scrolling? Are they just clicking? Are they, clicking and hopping off? What is happening on your actual funnel? Right? And how many times were those leads contacted and through what channels were they contacted, right? Most businesses will discover they're only contacting, unconverted leads 1, maybe 2 times through automations, okay? And that in itself is the problem itself. People realize when they're being contacted through automated text, automated emails, they realize it is automations. And I have a whole nother video on this on how to do this, but essentially, actually, I'm not gonna get into this otherwise in the sake of keeping the time low on this specific video. There's plenty of other videos that I showed that basically providing you with examples of how you can increase your show up rate. But again, if you're only contacting your unconverted leads 1 or 2 times through automations, right? You are not going to convert those people as well as if you have a real human element engage with those leads, build real rapport, and show them that you actually care about them, because you should care about them. Because if you don't actually care about them, think about this. You paid for that lead, right? Do you just want to squander that lead that you paid for? Okay, and that's insane to think when most businesses are paying anywhere from $50 to $100 a lead. It is insane to think that business owners are just kicking them to the side, shrugging their shoulders and saying, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about this, right? Now, step number 2 here, after you audit every single lead, is you want to implement a systematic follow-up, okay? And this is where the appointment setters come in. Not to book more calls from new leads, but to convert the leads you're already paying for, right? That basically, the setters are catching the low-hanging fruit and specifically converting a portion of those people that did not convert in the first place, and that is going to make your numbers look a whole lot better, right? So, depending on your lead source, a good appointment setter, right, should be able to convert anywhere from 15 to 20% of your warm inbound unconverted leads into booked calls, okay? Now again, unconverted leads that come through the foreign leads, such as, phone calls, for an example, or this is specifically what, appointment setters can do, right? They can obviously do a regular phone call, not just text, right? Specifically, they should be doing voice memos, right? And in addition to that, selfie videos on multiple platforms, right? So you can literally just instruct your setters. And again, if you're hiring your setters through us specifically, and we're finding your setters, they are going to get access to our training, and they should know these things. But again, selfie videos, super important, right? Have a selfie video and have your setter actually film a selfie video introducing themselves, mention the prospect's name, and send it to the prospects on multiple platforms so they can specifically see without a doubt this is not automated, because how can you automate a selfie video when you're specifically mentioning the prospect's name, right? Again, multiple touch points. In fact, a setter should be contacting a lead within the first 5 minutes, and in that first day should be contacting that lead at least 5 times within the first 24 hours. Super important. That is your number 1 time you're going to get in touch with a lead, is within the first 24 hours. So make sure you are having your setters reach out to them and have at least 5 touch points within 24 hours, okay? And again, do not just, again, our setters are trained here, but again, do not have your setters go out and just, hey, I'm just following up. Hey, do you want to book a call? Lead with value, right? And have value-driven conversations with your leads, right? And again, your setters should be trained on a proper objection handling as well, which they will be as well. Now, here is the implementation roadmap that you've exactly been looking for, right? And I can pull it up here on the iPad, but essentially phase 1 is going to be your audit phase, okay? So essentially what you're gonna do here is you're gonna pull every lead from the last 3 months, okay? And you're gonna categorize them under immediate buyers, book calls, or unconverted, okay? After that, you're gonna calculate your true cost per unconverted leads, not just your converted leads, because I can guarantee you right now, you probably know what your cost per lead is, but what you do not know is what your unconverted cost per leads are, right? And this number specifically will shock you, okay? Week 2 is we're gonna go into the process design, okay? So in week 2, you're gonna create a systematic follow-up sequence, right? Which we talked about. You're gonna design scripts for appointment setters, and specifically more frameworks and scripts, because again, scripts are great when you're training closers or setters, but after a while they should know the framing that should go apart and the messaging that should go across, right? And they should personalize every single video, every single voice memo should be personalized. Then after that, you're going to set up tracking systems to make sure that everybody's doing their job, and you're going to define success metrics, and you're going to share those metrics with your team so that they have visibility over what success looks like. Then in week 3, we're going to go through the hiring and training phase, which you're going to hire your appointment setters, which are going to be in-house or virtual. Generally, remote setters are going to be the way to go here. Then specifically, you're going to train them on your offer and objection handling, and start with unconverted leads from the last 30 days. Again, if you have a pool of leads, and I see, founders do this all the time where they hire setters and they say, well, we have 5,000 or 10,000 leads sitting in our CRM. Yes, that is perfectly well, but your setter should always be trained on handling hot or getting to leads that are hot on the money first, right? And what I mean by that is the leads that are coming in first, right? Like today, those are the leads that the appointment setter needs to be contacting, right? If there are not enough leads, right, for the setter to basically be on the call all day, then you can move to unconverted leads from, a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago. Again, the longer the leads have been sitting in your CRM, the lower the likelihood that they are going to convert, right? So that's why it's so important that setters are on it from day 1, okay? And then week 4 is going to be your optimization week. You're going to track conversions by lead source. You're going to optimize scripts based on what is working, and specifically frameworks as well, not just scripts. And then you're going to scale your successful processes, right? Again, within 30 days, you should be seeing these results, right? So again, I really hope that this video helped you guys in terms of realizing what is possible if you can actually convert more of the leads that you are currently getting. And look, everybody else is going to keep chasing the next shiny marketing tactic while their customer acquisition costs spiral out of control. But now you know the truth. The solution isn't just more leads all the time, it's converting the ones you already have. So stop letting those unconverted leads represent wasted money, right? Start treating them like gold, because they actually are. And if you're in the hunt right now and you're wanting appointment setters or closers basically filled into your business where you do not have to go interview them, find them, recruit them, vet them, talk to their ex-employers, conduct mock calls with them, review past calls that they've had, this is exactly what we do here at Sales Match. And then after we've conducted all those interviews, the vetting process, and so on and so forth, we present you with a cream of the crop candidates for you to pick from. So if that interests you, click the link somewhere below, schedule a call, let's see what you need, and let's go from there. But other than that, really hope this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.